England fans may have been surprised to hear Germans joyously singing along to Football's Coming Home before their quarter-final against England in Euro 2020. But I wasn't. Having lived in Germany for just over 8 years, I fully appreciate just how much the Germans love this song. And the story behind why is fascinating. Today I want to talk about how Three Lions broke into the German top 20 back in '96, why Germany and England are a lot more similar than you might imagine, and why the best football songs are always about heartbreak. Euro 96 was the first major tournament to be held in England since 1996, when England won the World Cup against Germany. The UK was primed to usher in a decade of prosperity following the economic brutality of the 1980s. Britpop was all the rage, and the combination of World Cup Italia '90 and the invention of the Premier League had brought football into the mainstream. But over in Germany, things were buoyant too. Despite having lost the World Cup final in 1966, they did actually win it in 1990, which brought extra meaning on the dawn of German reunification. With the Berlin Wall coming down, East and West were able to celebrate together for the first time in decades. And as for Britpop, well, that was huge in Germany too, and it still is. You only have to go out for a night of karaoke on Hamburg's Reeperbahn, and I guarantee that you'll hear Oasis, Angels by Robbie Williams, and Three Lions blasting out into the night sky. The UK and Germany's history have intertwined at so many junctures throughout history, but I often wonder whether the 90s was the moment that both of the countries' wavelengths were most closely aligned. And I think all of that provided the perfect conditions for Baddiel and Skinner's classic Three Lions, Football's Coming Home, to blow up. But okay, let's actually talk about football. Germany and England have played each other 33 times over the history of international football. That's not just in tournament football. There'll always be the classic 5-1 when England beat Germany, with Liverpool players scoring all the goals. And even when Germany beat England 1-0 in the final match at the original Wembley Stadium, again with a goal from a Liverpool player. Matches between the two sides have been some of the most memorable in international football in history. And definitely one of the most culturally significant was the Euro 96 semi-final, in which England lost to Germany on penalties. Not only did that match so perfectly marry up with the sentiment of Three Lions, there's a huge irony to the fact that not only did Germans take the cup home that year, but they also took that song with them. Interestingly, Baddiel and Skinner maybe brought it on themselves by performing that song live on German TV and insisting that they wore 1966 England shirts. The fact that a song about false hope and heartbreak ended in that fashion against Germany is just another reason that has solidified this song in the collective imagination. And let's face it, all of the best sporting songs are about heartbreak. Maybe I'm just biased, but surely You'll Never Walk Alone is one of the most internationally loved football songs. And it's not a song about winning or victory. It's about going through hard times together, weathering a storm and coming out at the other end. Swing Low Sweet Chariot, more of a rugby song, but again, it's a song about emancipation from slavery. It's about the dream of escaping oppression on a chariot which may never come. And Three Lions is about how even though hope will kill you in the end, it's the only thing worth living for. There have been accusations through this Euro 2020 that the idea of football coming home is inherently arrogant, but that's just a complete misreading of the song. Yes, it was British people who exported football to the rest of the world, but the idea of football coming home is ultimately dramatic irony. The actual song itself is about looking back on iconic England moments and wondering what could have been. The lie or the dream that we tell ourselves to keep going, that we know ultimately won't come true because we're English. Perhaps more than any other country that I've come across, the Germans really understand that English people have a very self-depreciating sense of humour. I don't think they always get it, but they do love British comedy, from Monty Python to Mr. Bean and even David Brent. And I think that all of that humour is inherently self-depreciating. Maybe the Germans find it funny because of Schadenfreude, they just want to laugh at us, but I don't really buy that. I think they genuinely get that Brits like to sort of take the mickey out of themselves. Ultimately, I think that's why they really get this song. I really don't believe that England fans should be overly protective of this song. In the same way that as Liverpool fans, we can't be overprotective of You'll Never Walk Alone. We should actually appreciate the fact that our culture has impacted so many people across the world. It should serve as a reminder that ultimately, wherever we're from, we're all just the same, really. If you want to hear more about my experiences living in Germany, then why not stick around on the channel? We've got plenty of videos for that. And I'll see you in a bit.